Hello folks, this is Fat Guy Flies RC, and this is the DURAFLY. It is the Naval Aviation Centennial edition of the T-28 1100mm wingspan by DURAFLY, sent to me by Hobby King for review. Let's take it out of the field and let's get the maiden in the books. Meet you out there. Well, hey folks, Fat Guy Flies RC. All right, Hobby King sent me out the Naval Centennial edition of the T-28 Trojan, and get a review for you. And so let's go do the maiden flight. We're got a 2200 4S all the way forward. Y'all watch my unboxing build. Let's get her up in the air. Gonna take her off in manual, get her trimmed out, deal with a cross breeze and some wind, but well, that's what I get. Timer set for 5 minutes. Gonna fly in my high rates. Everything is set up by the book. So got lights, flaps. All I've done is a range test. I have no idea. And the instructions said nothing about a flap to elevator mix. So we're going to proceed without one. Alrighty. Wind is off and on. But what wind we do have is crosswind, of course. Alrighty. Oh Lord, here we go.
The gear is up.
All right. Really hard to tell. Needs a little bit up elevator. And it needed
time remaining 4 minutes.
A little bit of a right aileron. All right.
Wind gyro active.
Whoa. Turn them down. All right. Flying pretty good now.
The gear is down.
All right, it's gonna be a booger bear to land.
Remaining 3 minutes. Take off. Landing flaps. Flaps up.
Definitely gonna need a mix.
Landing flaps. Flaps up.
You know what? All right. All right, we're going to resume want to work out my flap mix a little bit. I put 10% down elevator for takeoff, and I put in 20% down with landing. See if that doesn't help any. Okay.
The gear is up. Takeoff flaps. Landing flaps. Flaps up.
A little too much.
Landing flaps.
Yeah.
Flaps up.
A little too much. All right. Let's see about a stall here. All right, clean stall.
Time remaining 1 minute.
Fly along, lose power. What does she do? All right, she just starts slumping forward. Okay. Turn it around here. Fly along, lose power, holding up elevator, 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 elevator. All right, same thing. She just kind of slumps forward. All right, let's get a couple of passes here. That's a good looking plane.
30 seconds.
All right, let's go ahead and get a landing in.
The gear is down. 20 seconds. 10.
All right. Yeah, even though I don't have the speed brake working, it does have it, but this plane doesn't need it. I'd rather be able to control my gyro, turn my gyro on and off. So, but I understand, folks, it's got a cross breeze, about 8 to 10 mile an hour cross breeze, so it's hitting that big old rudder. All right. All right, I learned so far, without being the first time having her in the air, what I've learned so far is that on my flap mix that I stopped to put in, that 20% down elevator is too much. So I'm going to change that to 15%. Okay. And that on takeoff, 10% down elevator is also too much. I'm going to change that to 5. All right. I learned that she needed a little bit of up elevator trim with the seat, with the battery in the default place, which is all the way forward. And I learned that she needed a little bit of right aileron. All right, we've got 3 seconds left. Let's check the time. If we have enough battery juice, we'll take it up again, test these new flap settings. But these are the things you do when you're learning a plane. Okay, these are the steps you go through. I'll try to keep it as real as possible. All right. Still got 48%, so let's take it up again. And that's after a full 5 minutes. Let's take it up again and test that flap settings. Okay.
Motor is hot. Don't get burned.
Okay. All right. Like I said, I don't have a Spectrum receiver. I have a Spectrum Protocol. It's a Lemon RX Gen 2. And like I said, I'm dealing with a cross breeze, so. That big old rudder sticking up makes the steering kind of squirrely. I do have 50% expo, if I remember right, on the rudder. If I remember right. All right, here we go.
Timer expired.
Yeah.
gear is up.
All right. All right.
Landing flaps.
All right. I think I like those landing flap settings better. Still wants to dive just a touch, but not bad at all.
Flaps up. The gear is down.
All right. As windy as it is right now, I don't need flaps. Well, hold on. Let me go around.
1 minute.
Didn't like it. DURAFLY, you got a good flying plane here. All right. Not bad for never flying this thing before. Not bad at all. Solid little, whoa, 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 that wind. Woo! Honey, pan to your right and let them look at what we're dealing with here coming across that runway. All right. Not bad at all. Definitely consider that a successful maiden.
Prop is secured.
All right, we were 1 minute and 27 seconds over, so 6.5 minutes of total time. Let's check the battery now. And like I say, back in the man cave, we'll go over all the settings and rates and everything. And all right, 29% left, which is perfect. The only thing I've modded to this plane is I've given her a clear coat, but of the satin finish, so it doesn't have a gloss, just a satin finish to protect the foam. And I put a piece of tape, instead of doing my antenna mod, I did the tape mod on the hatch. But that is a really good looking plane. I mean, I can see them, the nav lights. You got a light up here, you got a light on the bottom, I believe, yeah. And then you got the red and the green nav lights. That's a good looking little plane, good little flying plane. And Hobby King, thank you so much for sending it out to me for a review. And I'm going to give it, out of made up right now scale, an 8 out of 10. Okay, put yourself a good gyroed receiver in this, take her out on a calm day, and this will make a great, for a first warbird, this would be a great first warbird. All right, folks, well, thank you for watching. We'll see you back in the man cave. We'll get another flight in here in just a few minutes. Bye-bye. Well, hey folks, Fat Guy Flies RC. All right, second flight of the DURAFLY T-28 in the Naval Centennial edition here. I'll see what kind of, try to do some low passes. I adjusted my flaps again to 10% down elevator with landing and left 5% down elevator with takeoff. And also adjusted my timer to 6.5 minutes, because I learned on the maiden to good 6 to 7 minutes is what you want out of this, so I did on 6.5 minutes. All right, this is the second time in the air. Anything I learn or show in a plane, y'all get to experience it along with me. So I don't come out here and test fly 50 times before I make a video. Everything you see is raw. So I'm not saying anybody else is being deceptive. I'm just saying this is how I like to operate. That way I get to experience it fresh and raw, just like you are. All right. Flying in my high rates, and everything's by factory settings. I personally, in the man cave, thought this seemed like awfully low throws, but I'm going to trust the engineers.
The gear is up.
Take it up.
remaining 6 minutes.
Really no elevator needed to maintain a bird. Actually, I put a little too much and she wanting to rise on me. So that just tells me my CG is good. Let's take it up, kill the motor. Yeah. Good.
Remaining 5 minutes.
Good looking plane. Cruising around about 3/4 throttle most of this time so far. Want to take it up now?
Landing flaps.
Oh, them flaps slow her right down. Oh yeah.
Flaps up.
Wind is really kicking her around. We're dealing with a nasty cross breeze.
The gear is down. Time remaining 4 minutes. The gear is up.
All right. Bring her right kind of low. Wind is horrendous right now.
The gear is down. Time remaining 3 minutes.
All right. This is a good flying little bird. It's just too windy to land with flaps though, so I really can't test that. And if it was right down the runway, it wouldn't be a problem, but even then, if it's that strong a wind, you don't need flaps. That is a good looking bird. But all Trojans fly well. I don't care who makes them. They all fly good. They're just naturally a flying good plane. Good flying plane. All right, I'm going to take off a couple more times, hopefully.
The gear is up.
Take it up. Kill the motor.
The gear is down.
We make a gear pass, make sure the gear is down.
Time remaining 2 minutes.
Just so you can see it fly by with the gear down. Oh boy, if y'all hear that wind, that's over the electronic filters and the wind muff. All right. See the wind hitting the grass behind it back there? Wow. Don't be in a hurry. When the wind's strong across that runway, don't be in a hurry. There's no point in being in a hurry. Woo! Honey, since this is a new film, pan right so they can understand what we're looking at. While I'm having to deal with going right across that runway. Okay. A light little plane don't weigh but a couple of, I don't know, a couple of pounds maybe. Even with the battery. And it's a small 4S at that. Alright, I need to come out here on a calm day to be able to test these flaps. Alright. Take her up. Woo! That wind.
The gear is up.
All right, we'll make one more pass here and then we'll come in for our landing. Good looking bird. Good flying bird.
The gear is down.
DURAFLY, I like it.
30 seconds.
Woo! Windy, windy, windy.
20 seconds. Prop is secured.
I love the way that prop looks. All right, we had 17 seconds left on a 6.5 minute timer. That was the second time ever having this plane in the air. Got that. I did the tape mod this time instead of the antenna mod. All right. 22% left, so that's perfect. Absolutely. All right, so honestly, a 2200 pushed all the way forward. Set your timer for 6.5 minutes. Fly the way you want. Well, folks, that right there, that is the DURAFLY Centennial. It's the Naval Aviation Centennial edition of the T-28, sent to me by Hobby King for review, made by DURAFLY. Great flying plane, and here it is towards about the 22nd or something like that of May 25, and right now it's on sale for $179. So that is a good buy. You're getting a warbird trainer with lights, flaps, attitude, and good looks, and great, and she flies as good as she looks. All right, folks, well, thank you for watching. That was the second flight. We'll meet you back in the man cave and we'll go over all the rates and everything about the plane. God bless y'all. Bye-bye. Well, hey folks, Fat Guy Flies RC here. All right, we got some flights in with the DURAFLY, the Naval Aviation Centennial T-28 here, sent to me by Hobby King for review, DURAFLY product. one of their in-house brands, and I want to tell you that I'm very impressed with the plane. It looks really well, flies very stable. There were some issues I had with it. I'm not going to lie. There are some things I see as drawbacks, and there's some things I think that it excels at. Number one, its livery is beautiful. It's very easy to see. The paint job is very bright and very vibrant. It's very stable, but then again, all Trojans usually fly very stable. Is it lacking for power? No. Is it overpowered? No. It is just, it meets power. It flies a nice scale clip. So that's fine. It does what it's intended to do. Would I like it to be a little more powerful? Yeah, I'd like it to be a little more powerful. But it's more than good. The build was really well. Didn't have, y'all watch the build. Didn't have any real issues. The only thing I'm not crazy about, and this is not a, please don't take this as a deal breaker. I just don't like how the screws come through. I'd like to see a different type of arrangement for these control services connections. But then again, this plane right now is $179 here, May of 25 for on sale. Normally I want to say it's about $229, but you're getting a very nice, good flying warbird with lights and retracts for in the $200 range. That's not a bad deal at all. The ESC did need to be calibrated, but the prop was nice and balanced. It runs on 4S power, more than enough power. It's got a very bright livery lighting package that I can see even in the bright sunshine. The retracts are very simple. You have to be careful with these doors. Let them fall down naturally, these doors, and you won't have any issues. It's just a little bent wire that the spring holds them open, and then the touch of the wheel is what closes them. So they may not close perfectly tight. You can adjust those little bars in there that hold them closed, but they're not going to come open. But just simple, simple, simple. See, like you could push this shut now. Well, no, they've improved that. They've got little springs. But yeah, simple, good, reliable retracts. CG is 50 to 60 millimeters back from the leading edge of the wing, which puts it right there. I know I'm kind of all over the place on topics here. It's just as things occur to me. But she CGs really well. If you put your fingers right in the middle of that CG, she's going to be slightly nose heavy, which is good, is what you want. This is a warbird after all. And then when you put the gear down, she's a little bit more nose heavy. So that's fine. That is fine and dandy. All right, let's talk about the air brake issue. Now, it does have an air brake, all right? But I chose, and I got a 7-channel receiver with the intention of using that air brake. But I chose not to use it because after I'd already glued my receiver in, I used hot glue, I remembered then that 7th channel, I can use it as a function as long as I understand that function's also going to be turning on or off my gyro. This is the way I like to set it. I do not like the, now I know those Lemon RXs, you can go in there and you can have the gyro on all the time, but I don't like that. I like using the option to be able to turn that gyro off. If that receiver was to come loose or something and flop around and I try to fly on the gyro, it's going to auto correct itself into oblivion, and I'm going to have a big pile of foam somewhere on the field. I like the option to be able to turn the gyro off, and I like to, you know, trim a plane out without the gyro, and then that makes the gyro that much better. Now, to show you my setup inside, there's the Lemon RX Gen 2. Okay, there's where I've got the 2200 pretty much all the way forward, and that's how I get that CG. Now, if I wanted, I could do without the gyro and activate the air brake. But after flying this plane and landing this plane, and the Maiden was in crazy wind, folks, please don't judge that plane based upon the first 2 flights, okay? Because the wind was crazy and cross breeze, and I did the best I could just to land the thing. So I really don't know how well the flaps work. I had a 3rd flight, which will be a speed trial, which will be a separate video. I did use the flaps a little bit then, and I found that I've got the flaps, I think, the way I want them. So let me share my settings with you that I think are going to be my final settings for the plane. Okay. Right off the bat, we already talked about CG and where to get that CG. The rates that I flew in are my high rates, and I did deviate a little bit. Everything I'm going to show you is right by the book, the millimeters that I use the manual. That doesn't come with a manual, by the way. You have to download it off the website. But I use their millimeters, and using this tool is what translated into spectrum numbers. Aileron high rates are 40%. That's actually 40%. Now, this is also based upon me attaching at the next to the last end on the control horn and the furthest out setting on the servo rod, or the servo horn and the next to inside. So I get a lot of deflection. I did that on all control surfaces, so that makes them a little more resolution, I think is what it's called. So understand, if you were to move the connection points on the control surface to the furthest out, then you could have a little bit more throws. But for that setting, that mechanically set that way, 40% is high with 30% expo on ailerons. Elevator, now, the settings I had it was at 50, but after the third flight, I realized I wanted more elevator throw than what the book called for. It did translate to 50%, but I increased it to 60, and that's what I ended up at, and I'm very happy with that right there. You'll have to look at the manual to get the millimeters. I don't remember what they were. And the rudder is 100% with 50% expo, and I didn't follow the manual at all. I almost always go 100% with my rudders with a lot of expo to soften it out. So I went by the book basically with the ailerons and the elevator. Okay. Flap settings, I couldn't find it anywhere in the book, so I guessed.
Take off flaps.
Okay. And I did work out the mix to where I'm happy with it. Flaps up are a -100, no mix. Takeoff flaps are a -50 with a 5% down elevator. Landing were 0% with a 10% down elevator with a 2-second deployment. If you keep an eye on that elevator, you can see it move just a little bit, and that seemed to keep her locked in pretty well. I had my timer set for I think 5 minutes, but if I remember right, because I was able to fly around for almost 7 minutes on a 2200, if I remember right. I flew a lot of planes today, but there you go. Good looking plane, good flying plane. Does it have a few issues? I think the foam, the paint is a little weak. It chips very easily. These decals chip very easily. Even on the bottom here, this gold, of course, hitting things aren't going to help. This gold is painted on it, just came right off, okay? But we're not talking about a $700 plane here, okay? I did have to take these wing bolts in and out 3 or 4 times to get them to line up right. There was some material stuck down in the threads. All these things are just typical modeling woes that you'll get in any manufacturer, so they're not deal breakers. I like the fact that these wheels are spongy and they have some give. That is nice. Simple mechanisms for these doors may be troublesome, but they're reliable because they're simple. They're not mechanical. The gears seem very strong. They seem to be very quick. The foam did appear to me to be a little dry, but that's okay because I took a clear coat of mid-wax, the clear satin, not the high gloss. I wanted the satin finish. And that is great because that is what will help with these decals. These decals coming off, see, even right there, that's missing. That's just rubbed off by touching them, okay? If you put a nice clear coat, that seals them on there, and now you don't have to worry about that. And it protects the model too. So, folks, thank you so much for watching. Hobby King, thank you for the opportunity to review some planes for you. This is a solid plane. This would make a great, if you're looking to want to get a low, I can't talk. If you're wanting your first low wing and you're wanting a warbird, this is a good choice. It's an economical choice. It's a solid flying plane. It can be seen really well. It's just the perfect size to throw in the back seat. And you should not have to take this plane apart. I mean, she's not that big. Like I said, the prop was balanced. The ESC did need to be calibrated, but I showed you in the video how to do that. If I had a rating scale off the top of my head, being the 10 the greatest thing, the 10 being the greatest plane you'll ever possibly buy, and a 1 being a pile of crap you need to stay away from, I'm going to give this a solid 8.5. Solid 8.5 after flying it. Does have a few drawbacks to it. Like I said, you know, I think it could use a little more power. I think there could be a little better quality foam. There could be a little better quality in the foam. As I repeat myself and repeat myself. In the dictionary, repeat says, see repeat. The decals could be a little better quality. But like I said, we're not talking about a $600 and $700 flight line warbird. We're talking a plane that normally runs around the $200 mark, which in today's models and planes, that is pretty darn good. And you get lights, and you get flaps, and you get retracts. Okay, that's a good deal. And she's solid flying. I'm very pleased with her, and I can't wait to get her back out to the field again. And thank you so much for watching. Hobby King, thank you for giving me a chance to let me review the planes for you. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying what you've sent me. God bless each and every one of you. God is good. And don't forget, faith, family, and friends, and T-28 warbirds. Bye, y'all.